What's up guys, today's video is on the top 10 best gaming monitor 2022. Through extensive research and testing, I've put together a list of options that'll meet the needs of different types of buyers. So whether it's price, performance, or its particular use, we've got you covered. For more information on the products, I've included links in the description box down below which are updated for the best prices. Like the video, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get started. 10th place. Samsung Odyssey Neo G9. The best just got even better. That's almost certainly the case with the new Samsung Odyssey Neo G9. After all, Samsung's original Odyssey G9 was already the best gaming monitor on the market. It has now received the one necessary upgrade. Yes, the Neo G9 has a mini LED backlight. It looks exactly like the old G9 out of the box. However, the original G9's single most obvious flaw has been addressed deep within. And some more. The Neo G9 still has an excellent VA panel. But it's the new backlight that's important here. It provides far more than just edge-lit dimming. It features cutting-edge mini LED technology with no less than 2048 zones. This thing is several orders of magnitude more advanced than the last one. As if that wasn't enough, the peak brightness of the Neo G9 has been doubled to a retina-wrecking 2000 nits. What a monster! The issue with any backlight-based local dimming technology rather than per-pixel local dimming technology is that compromises must be made. In other words, based on the image data, an algorithm must determine how bright any given zone should be. The outcomes will never be perfect. Visible halos around small, bright objects are a common problem with full-array dimming. The Neo G9, on the other hand, has its own, surprisingly crude, backlight-induced image quality issues. They are, admittedly, most visible on the Windows desktop rather than in-game or while watching video. When a bright white window is placed next to an all-black window, the adjacent edge of the former visibly dims. Consider moving a small, bright object over a dark background. The same thing occurs. The small, bright object begins to fade. Even worse, if a bright dialog box appears across the line separating light and dark elements, the result is a gradient of brightness across the box. All of this applies to both SDR and HDR modes, and it's all rather messy and distracting on the Windows desktop. This monitor isn't intended for serious content creation or office work. However, at this price point, it is unquestionably a serious flaw. Nonetheless, the 1000R curve, massive 49-inch proportions, and relatively high resolution work together to deliver an experience that few, if any, screens can match. The G9 excels at graphics-intensive games like Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3. In that regard, the Samsung Odyssey Neo G9 offers arguably the best visual experience available on a PC today. In practice, the mini LED on the Neo G9 causes as many problems as it solves. We also can't help but notice how many options are available at this price point. Perhaps the most obvious option is a large format 120Hz OLED TV with HDMI 2.1 connectivity. 9th place. Acer Predator X38. If your display mantra is go big or go home, Acer hears you and has created the Predator X38, a massive 38-inch curved screen that looks stunning. It has a 3840 by 1600 resolution and a not quite 4K QHD ultra-wide panel. The IPS panel looks great with a 24:9 aspect ratio, and the size means you have plenty of screen real estate for gaming. This 37.5-inch display is quite large. It's simply impossible to take everything in without moving your head slightly. That means maximum variety and immersion. In use, the skinny little bezels are only 2 mm wide and blend into invisibility. It's slightly curved, with a relatively relaxed 2300R bend, and comes with a sturdy, pre-fitted big metal stand that tilts back a full 35 degrees, exposing its display and power ports beneath for easy, no fumble plugging in. The display also has G-Sync technology and variable refresh rates of up to 175 Hz. That's a significant improvement over lower refresh rate curved gaming monitors, and Acer has also overcome the major IPS disadvantage of typically long response times. This beast has a 1 millisecond GTG response, indicating that IPS has matured and is no longer making compromises. It's good enough for HDR effects with its display HDR 400 certification, but it's not as dazzling as the HDR 1000 screens available now, such as the Asus PG43 UK. Banding was almost non-existent, and the backlighting was even, with a faintly noticeable glow coming from the edges in dark scenes, but nothing to worry about and not noticeable while gaming. Pushing the overclock to 175 Hz produced a perfect result with no visible ghosting. Text, for example, was rock solid, with no shimmering. Your graphics card will obviously be taxed in many games at such a high resolution, and while testing this, I generally left it at 144 Hz, though for several days I used it at 175Hz for everything, including boring work, and it was rock solid and crisp all the time. It's a large, bold, and visually appealing display. If you want to make a statement, this is one of the best widescreen gaming monitors available. It's taller and nearly half as wide as the 27-inch 16:9 displays, but the higher resolution means the dot pitch is slightly lower. The surround effect of the XR382 CQK is incredibly immersive for games that properly support ultra-wide resolutions. Sitting at your desk, the 38-inch panel will fill your field of view. 8th place. Gigabyte M28U. The M28U checks all the boxes for PC gamers as well as Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 owners looking for a low-cost 4K resolution gaming solution. It has a stunning 28-inch IPS panel that provides excellent picture quality and color depth. However, its 28-inch screen size is a little smaller than I'd normally recommend for making the most of the 4K resolution. To get the most out of it, you'll need to enable scaling in Windows or your preferred operating system, but it's still a great size for pixel density and detail to shine through without overwhelming the desktop. Next to my 32-inch monitor, it feels far less imposing. The 144Hz refresh rate, 120Hz on console, and 2 milliseconds MPRT response time will be the main selling points for gamers. That's certainly fast enough for our tastes, and looking good while delivering that speed is a huge accomplishment. This monitor is also Display HDR 400 certified, though its brightness is a fairly standard 300 CD/M2. I wouldn't consider its HDR capabilities to be significant in any case, and I wouldn't recommend purchasing this monitor solely for its HDR capabilities. In terms of design, we thought the monitor stand was a little cheap. It's sturdy, but its movement is limited to height and tilt adjustments. It's also a little cheap looking, with the underside relying on glued-on pads for desk grip. With the small adjustments I've made over time, these pads on my review sample have already started to peel away and may need to be replaced just to keep the screen steady. However, this is where Gigabyte may have cut corners in order to keep the M28U as cheap as it is. However, features such as the inclusion of an HDMI 2.1 port make it quite versatile for the price. Gigabyte has made no major sacrifices to check all the boxes with the M28U, and while it's still quite a lot of money to spend on a monitor alone, other 4K monitors with this kind of feature set are usually much more expensive. 7th place. Pixio PX277 Prime. In terms of gaming monitors, the Pixio PX277 Prime is about as basic as it gets. The base was designed with a sci-fi theme in mind, and a lot of thought went into the thing's build quality. In addition, the thin bezel is always a plus in our book. This 27-inch panel delivers frames at a consistent 165Hz refresh rate, which isn't the fastest but is adequate for competitive gaming. The 1 millisecond gray-to-gray response time also helps with gaming. AMD users can expect a tear-free gaming experience with this FreeSync certified monitor. At 1440p, you get a good pixel density for the size of the monitor, as well as a sharp image. The screen itself is advertised as anti-glare, and we've seen that it performs well in most brightly lit environments but not so well in dim ones. The contrast on the Pixio is 1000:1, which isn't the best, but the colors can be tweaked to create a punchy and accurate image with a little fiddling. However, it would have been nice to see this out of the box. The PX277 Prime's main selling point, however, is its low price. A great entry-level option for those who want a larger screen with a high refresh rate but don't want to break the bank. While the build quality isn't as strong as that of a higher-end monitor, the Pixio panel is ideal for the budget gamer who doesn't mind foregoing some of the bells and whistles of a higher-end monitor in exchange for top performance. 6th place. Dell S3222 DGM. We'd all love to have $1,000 burning a hole in our pockets to spend on a new gaming monitor. But, in the real world, the Dell S3222 DGM wants a piece of the budget that most of us have. It's a 32-inch monster with a VA panel that can run it up to 165Hz and a resolution of 2560 by 1440 pixels. Yes, the tried and true 1440p resolution, widely regarded as the sweet spot for real-world gaming, providing the ideal balance of performance and visual detail. All that normally applies to 27-inch models is the catch. 32 inches? In terms of pixel density, that makes for a fairly large 1440p panel. To put it into numbers, you're looking at 93 pixels per inch. The low pixel density is most noticeable in Windows. This isn't the monitor for you if you like crisp fonts and a lot of desktop real estate. For the rest of us, it all comes down to the value proposition. There are faster monitors available. There are IPS-powered monitors with superior image quality. There are monitors with various types of HDR support that are not listed here. And others with far more pixels or dramatically different aspect ratios. This is a gaming-focused monitor that lacks HDR support but is powered by VA panel technology. So, peak brightness is 350 nits, static contrast is about as good as it gets at 3,000:1, and AMD FreeSync Premium certification is included. A gentle 1800R panel curve completes the fundamentals. It's an odd, if not entirely unique, feature for this type of display. For ultra-wide displays, curvature is a more obvious and natural fit. On a standard 16:9 panel, we still require some persuasion. Dell quotations 8 milliseconds gray to gray in fast mode, 4 milliseconds gray to gray in super fast mode, 2 milliseconds gray to gray in extreme mode, and 1 millisecond gray to gray in MPRT mode. The MPRT setting is a no-go for us because it completely crushes brightness. Super fast, then, and the result is a good but not exceptional response with no overshoot. Given the 4 milliseconds rating for super fast, this is pretty much what you'd expect. However, when you consider the 165 Hz refresh rate, you have a pretty convincing monitor for response-critical online shooters. If that is your top priority, you'd be better off with a higher refresh 1080p IPS monitor with faster response. If you want a larger panel like this, 4K isn't the best option. It comes with a significant increase in GPU load, which necessitates a significant investment in a good graphics card. 5th place. Alienware 25AW2521HF. 240 Hz gaming was once considered a niche, but it is now more widely available, and Alienware has positioned itself ahead of the competition with the stunning AW2521HF gaming monitor. While it is not the most affordable option on the market, it has the style and performance to make you want it on your desk. This is a G-Sync compatible FreeSync monitor that provides a smooth, stutter-free gaming experience on either NVIDIA GeForce or AMD GPUs. Along with its massive 240 Hz refresh rate, the AW2521HF has a lightning-fast 1 millisecond gray-to-gray response time. It chugs along with little to no ghosting or artifacts in games like Valorant and Destiny 2. The viewing angles on this one are a little iffy with certain colors, but there is a strong, balanced color consistency. In-game, rich, natural colors are not oversaturated. The static contrast is lacking, with blacks that aren't the darkest of the bunch, and there's a noticeable IPS bloom toward the bottom and left, depending on the viewing angle. However, it's nice and bright, and if you work or play in a bright room, the Alienware 25 can handle even the most obnoxious glares. More importantly, whether you place the AW252HF in the center of your desk for gaming or off to the side as a second monitor in portrait mode while working, it has some impressive viewing angles. Our only real criticisms are the lack of HDR support and the low contrast, but it remains one of the best gaming monitors. 4th place. Dell S2722DGM. PC gaming, like the mystical ways of the Force, is all about balance. It's pointless to weight your system too heavily in one direction without considering the entire picture. Why bother connecting your RTX 3080Ti to a 60 Hz 1080p display? Similarly, why spend money on a 4K monitor when you only have a Radeon RX 6600? The classic 27-inch Dell S2722DGM combines that screen real estate with a native resolution of 2560 by 1440, giving you a great pixel pitch for fine detail. It's also a good resolution for getting high frame rates without the GPU demands of a 4K display at 1440p. It can also deliver that resolution at 165 Hz, which is impressive. It has a 2 milliseconds GTG response time, which is just a hair slower than the best IPS panel's 1 millisecond and half a millisecond ratings, so you're covered in terms of speed. However, if you're looking for speed, you can find faster panels. Given the technology's inherent high contrast, this VA panel has a high contrast ratio. In terms of image quality, the Dell S2722DGM is a reasonably punchy and vibrant monitor for a pure SDR panel. The high inherent contrast certainly helps, ensuring that you don't feel cheated when playing games like Cyberpunk 2077 in SDR mode, which support HDR. We'd avoid MPRT mode, which reduces the brightness and vibrancy of the panel. The extreme mode, which is rated at 2 milliseconds, has a smidgen of overshoot, but it's only barely visible in-game, whereas super fast resolves the overshoot but only allows for a little smearing of darker tones. There is no USB Type-C connectivity. However, the dual HDMI and single display port connections are adequate, even if the HDMI ports only support 144 Hz rather than 165 Hz. Most importantly, this Dell monitor is reasonably priced. Dell produces high-quality gaming panels with all of the necessary features and a few extraneous ones to raise the price. As a result, it is one of the best gaming monitors available to most PC gamers today. 3rd place. Gigabyte G27Q. The G27Q demonstrates that a good IPS 1440p display does not have to be expensive. At around $330, Gigabyte's 27-inch monitor offers a slew of desirable features, but more importantly, it delivers rich color and smooth gameplay. It appears to be a flat, 27-inch display with a design that would not stand out in an office setting. But it's actually one of the best gaming monitors I've ever used. It not only has a beautiful, vibrant IPS panel with 8-bit color and 92% DCI-P3 coverage, but it is also HDR capable. As someone who values visual fidelity, I appreciate the clarity and performance of this resolution. Even the modest GTX 1660 Super in my desktop drives games at 60 FPS at high settings. If you spend all of your time playing CSGO or Valorant, the 144Hz refresh rate may be a hindrance, but the 1 millisecond response time is invaluable. The Gigabyte G27Q excels at gaming, thanks to adaptive sync via AMD FreeSync Premium. It's also G-Sync compatible, so whether you're on Team Green or Team Red, the G27Q will fit in. I didn't have an AMD GPU to test with, but I did use a desktop and laptop powered by NVIDIA. Neither had any issues running games while using G-Sync. It's a bit plain in comparison to other more expensive options, but it's packed with useful features designed to improve your gaming experience. Its VISA Display HDR 400 certification allows it to be blindingly bright, but in gaming, sunny skies and other bright spots tend to blow out and lose definition at maximum brightness. Dark areas are sometimes crushed as well. However, movies and videos on Netflix and YouTube fare much better. Unfortunately, my Xbox One X did not recognize the G27Q as HDR capable. However, the G27Q's SDR mode is excellent, so I didn't miss much. There are 2 HDMI 2.0 ports and 1 DisplayPort 1.2, as well as 2 USB 3.0 Type A downstream ports and 1 USB 3.0 Type B port. Oh, and it includes a pair of 2-watt speakers built into the monitor. The G27Q's OSD provides access to a plethora of profiles and monitor settings. You navigate with the small joystick on the back, and I like how you don't have to press the joystick to access the menu. There's also the OSD Sidekick, a useful Windows app that provides the same menu access but allows you to navigate with your mouse rather than the joystick, which is cool. Whether for work or play, the G27Q delivers a sharp, vibrant, and smooth image. Second place. LG 27GN950B. 4K gaming is a high-end endeavor. To achieve decent frame rates at such a high resolution, a massive amount of rendering power is required. However, if you have a top-tier graphics card, such as an RTX 3080 or RX 6800 XT, this fantasy can become a reality. The LG Ultra Gear is the first 4K Nano IPS gaming monitor with 1 millisecond response times that will properly display your powerful GPU. This sleek slim bezel design features NVIDIA G-Sync and AMD's FreeSync adaptive refresh compatibility, as well as LG's Sphere Lighting 2.0 RGB visual theatrics. That buttery smooth 144Hz is pretty special when combined with the crazy sharp detail that comes with the 4K pixel grid. While it does exhibit some typical IPS glow, it appears mostly at the screen's edges when viewing darker game scenes. Most of the time, this isn't an issue, but the HDR is a little disappointing because, frankly, 16-edge lit local dimming zones do not equal a true HDR panel. What stands out the most is the Nano IPS technology, which provides a wider color gamut and excellent viewing angles. The color fidelity of the Nano IPS panel is also exceptional. LG's default calibration is nearly perfect, with excellent detail in both black and white scales. Aside from the strict metrics, it has a seriously vibrant and punchy image quality on the Windows desktop. This screen appears. When you get into the game, it's just as impressive. We'll never get tired of 144Hz buttery smooth goodness. But when combined with the insanely sharp detail provided by the 4K pixel grid, it's pretty special. The LG Ultra Gear 27GN950B comes with a fantastic panel with excellent IPS image quality. Despite its lower HDR capabilities, it still produces beautiful colors and contrast for your games. G-Sync provides stable images and smoothness, and the fast refresh rate and response time support this. And, while the lack of HDMI 2.1 and USB Type-C is a little limiting, especially in the long run, it's currently one of the best monitors available. First place. Alienware 34QD OLED. OLED has finally made its way to the PC, and in ultra-wide format no less. It's no surprise that Alienware's 34QD OLED is one of the few gaming monitors to receive such a high rating from us. Dell nailed the OLED panel in this screen, which is absolutely stunning for PC gaming. Although not perfect, this monitor outperforms any LCD-based monitor in several gaming critical metrics. It's also a lot of fun to use. That 34-inch, 21:9 panel is nothing short of exceptional in either of its HDR modes, HDR 400 True Black or HDR Peak 1000. It produces a punchy and vibrant 3440 by 1440 native resolution image across the gentle 1800R curve. It makes a good effort, with 99.3% coverage of the demanding DCI-P3 color space and a maximum brightness of 1000 nits, though that brightness level can only be achieved on a small portion of the panel. Still, thanks to the per-pixel lighting, the in-game image has a lot of depth, saturation, and clarity, but this OLED screen needs to be in HDR mode to work properly. That also applies to SDR content. HDR Peak 1000 mode achieves the maximum 1000 nit performance in small areas of the panel but generally appears less vibrant and punchy. In general, HDR 400 True Black mode produces the best results. However, if you go into the Windows Display Settings menu and increase the SDR brightness, it looks much more zingy. The greatest fear is burn-in, which causes a few quirks. To begin, you may notice the entire image shifting by a pixel or two on occasion. The panel is actually over-provisioned by about 20 pixels in both axes, giving plenty of room for error. It's similar to over-provisioning memory cells in an SSD and allows Alienware to keep static elements from burning into the display over time. While we didn't notice any subjective issues with this 175Hz monitor, there's no doubt that if your gaming enjoyment and success are dependent on having the lowest possible latency, faster screens are available. With the single DisplayPort input, you can only achieve the full 175Hz. The Alienware 34QD OLED, on the other hand, has an absurdly fast response time of 0.1 milliseconds and breezed through our monitor testing suite. That speed is also noticeable in-game. This panel, however, does not support HDMI 2.1. As a result, it's probably not the best choice for console gaming. But this is PC Gamer, and if you're going to connect your PC to a high-end gaming monitor, this is the one we recommend. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I hope to see you all in the next video. See you later, guys.